It started with her phone. Bianca had always been careless with her devices, cracked screens, forgotten passwords, missed texts, but around the beginning of February, her habits changed. Suddenly, her phone was glued to her hand. Locked, face down when we were together. She'd laugh at messages she never mentioned, then say something vague like, "Just Kelsey being ridiculous." I didn't press, not at first. But I noticed. She started taking long showers with her phone left on the sink, Bluetooth connected to a playlist that skipped tracks randomly. That's when I installed the Clone app. It mirrored her messages and call logs to my own phone without alerting her. I didn't do it out of jealousy, I did it because I knew. There was something beneath the surface, and I needed to see it for myself. What I saw wasn't just flotation. It was full sentences like, "I can't believe how alive you make me feel." Photos of wine glasses clinking. Hotel receipts. Mentions of our spot. She'd saved his number under a fake name, Grant Copywriter. There was no Grant. But there was a Caleb. Caleb was her startup's lead investor. 50-something, arrogant in that effortless way men with old money tend to be. I'd met him once at a launch party. He shook my hand and looked through me like I was part of the wallpaper. I remember how Bianca touched his shoulder that night when she laughed. A little too familiar. The next day, she started going to early morning spin classes. Bianca loathed exercise. I remember the first time she did yoga with me during lockdown. 15 minutes in, she'd quit and opened a bag of Cheetos. But now, suddenly, she had gym leggings, a membership card, and zero soreness the next morning. I didn't even have to follow her. I just checked her GPS data. The spin studio didn't exist, but a hotel near Soma did. A week later, an unmarked manila envelope showed up at the house. No return address. Inside, printed screenshots of security camera footage. One grainy photo after another of Bianca and Caleb entering the back entrance of that same hotel. Arm in arm. One showed her kissing him in the lobby. I sat there in my study, alone, watching the ink smudge under my thumb. Not because I was crying. Because I'd gripped the photo too hard. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I made a decision. If she thought she could play games with me, the man who built his entire career on blueprints and foresight, she had no idea what kind of mind she was dealing with. I designed skyscrapers that defied physics. This was demolition. This was just another phase in the plan. That night, she walked through the front door, smiling like she didn't have lies in her teeth, and said, "I'm thinking of doing a juice cleanse." I looked up from my laptop and nodded. Sounds good. Inside, I was already preparing the wrecking ball. 3 days after the envelope arrived, I sat down in my office with a steaming mug of black coffee, opened my laptop, and began phase 1. Financial extraction. We had 3 shared bank accounts. One for bills. One for travel. One she thought I didn't know about. Her emergency savings tucked under a fake LLC name. I created the LLC. I knew the passwords. I emptied all 3 before lunch. By noon, I had frozen our joint credit cards and rerouted every autopay to my personal account. I left enough in the house account to keep the lights on for a few more weeks, just long enough to avoid suspicion. That same afternoon, I scheduled a meeting with my lawyer to update the property title. Since I had paid for most of the down payment myself, transferring it fully into my name wasn't difficult. Just a few signatures and a notary. Bianca had signed over the right to dispute asset division in a postnup she never read. I had written it. It was all so easy. Alarming, really. The next evening, I stopped by her father's condo with a USB drive in my coat pocket. He greeted me with a confused smile, one that faded when I said, "We need to talk about Bianca." We sat in silence for nearly 10 minutes as he watched the security footage on his television. When it ended, he didn't say a word, just stared at the screen like it might change. The footage had a timestamp, just last Friday. She had told him she was at a startup retreat in Monterey. "She's not who you think she is," I said, finally. He didn't argue, just slowly nodded. I still locked on the TV. That haunted look on his face, that was enough for me. The night she finally made her grand exit, Bianca did it in full makeup and heels. Like she was walking off a runway, not a marriage. I was in the kitchen, cleaning the espresso machine. She stood by the island we built together during our renovation phase, back when we still laughed about things like grout and tile. She dropped her bomb like she'd been rehearsing it. "I'm in love with someone else, and I'm not coming back." I looked up, met her eyes, and took in the way her jaw twitched, like she was bracing for a reaction. But I had none to give. I nodded once and said, "Okay." That single word seemed to shake her more than if I'd yelled. She waited, like I might change my mind, ask questions, plead for something. I didn't. I just went back to cleaning the machine. As she walked out, wheeling a silver suitcase behind her, she paused by the door. I didn't look up, because by then, every card she thought she held had already been cut, canceled, and thrown in the fire. She just didn't know it yet. The morning after she left, the house was too quiet. No heels clicking across the floor. No scent of her designer perfume hanging in the hallway. Just stillness. I stood in the living room, coffee in hand, staring at the photos above the fireplace. Smiling vacations. Dinner parties. Us in Santorini, her head tilted just right for the camera. Lies, all of it. I picked the first frame up, flipped it over, and pulled the backing off. The photo slipped out easily, like it wanted to be free. I held it for a second, then dropped it into the trash can beside me. Frame followed. Glass shattered at the bottom. That sound felt good. I moved from room to room like I was scrubbing out an infection. Every trace of her had to go. Every photo. Every scented candle she swore she loved but never lit. Every coffee mug with a sassy quote. Into trash bags or boxes, labeled by room and date, then stored in the garage like evidence. When I opened the drawer next to the bed, I found an old letter she'd written me during our second year of marriage. I don't know why I read it. I should have tossed it. But curiosity got the better of me. Inside, she had written, "You make me feel seen. Like I'm not faking anything when I'm with you." The irony punched me in the chest. Underneath that was a handwritten note on hotel stationery, different handwriting, not mine. I didn't need to read the whole thing to know who wrote it. The phrase, "Lamborghini in a parking lot," jumped off the page. Caleb. Of course it was him. Smug bastard. I burned that one in the sink. I watched the flames twist the words into smoke and ash, and I swear something inside me burned down with it. But what rose from it wasn't grief. It was clarity. I didn't break things or scream or punch walls. I wasn't 17. This wasn't heartbreak. It was purification. That afternoon, I took her dresses to a consignment shop 2 towns over. I didn't want to run into anyone who knew us. The clerk raised an eyebrow at the designer labels, but didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. By sunset, the house looked emptier. Not sad empty. Clean empty. No perfume. No clutter. Just silence. I opened a bottle of scotch I'd been saving for a promotion that never came and poured myself 2 fingers. Sat on the back patio. Watched the sun sink behind the trees. I didn't toast to endings. I toasted to beginning again with no illusions. The photo arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. I was drafting floor plans when my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I opened it absent-mindedly, expecting spam. Instead, it was a selfie, Bianca and Caleb lounging in what looked like a private villa, champagne flutes in hand. She wore a bikini, oversized sunglasses, and that smug, practiced smile I used to think was effortless. Caleb was grinning like a man who just won someone else's trophy. They were both flipping off the camera. No caption. No words. Just that photo, like a punctuation mark on her triumph. I didn't reply. Instead, I saved it. Not out of sentimentality. For court. You never know what might come in handy later, and Bianca had a gift for self-sabotage. The metadata alone would say enough. Location, date, timestamp. After that, I packed the last of her things into labeled boxes. Shoes, toiletries, documents, handbags. Everything with obsessive precision. Each box had a color-coded label and a typed inventory list inside. I arranged them in a climate-controlled storage unit I'd rented under her full name. I sent her the access code in a 1-line email. Your belongings are stored at Unit 127. Climate-controlled. Paid for 1 year. After that, it's up to you. No salutation. No emotion. 2 days later, she showed up without warning. I was just getting home from the gym, something I'd neglected for far too long, when I saw her car in the driveway. She was standing by the front door in workout clothes, face bare, hair pulled back like she hadn't expected to be seen. "You changed the locks," she said. I didn't move to unlock the door. Just leaned against the railing and looked at her. "You changed the marriage," I said. She flinched. Just for a second. I think she expected me to argue, to ask how the champagne tasted, or why she thought sending that picture would break me. She didn't realize I was already past the breaking point and well into the rebuilding phase. "I came to get a few things," she said, quieter now. "Some jewelry, a few keepsakes. They're all in storage. Everything's cataloged." She glanced through the window beside the door, peering into the house that used to be hers. Her expression faltered when she saw how empty it looked. Bare counters. No throw pillows. No signs of her curated chaos. It feels sterile, she said. That was the idea, I replied. She stepped back, like the porch itself had gone cold. I didn't say another word. I didn't ask how she was. I didn't offer her a drink. I let the silence wrap around us like a barrier. Then, just before she walked away, she turned and said, "You didn't have to make it so impersonal." I held her gaze. "You made it impersonal the day you sent that photo." She didn't reply, just got in her car and drove off. And me? I went inside, locked the new deadbolt, and sat in my empty kitchen. I had never loved the silence more. The HR meeting happened on a Friday. I had just finished a site walkthrough with a client when the calendar ping hit. Meeting with HR, 2:15 p.m., mandatory. The email was brief, oddly formal. No context, just my name and the time. I knew. Bianca had made her move. I walked in cool, tie loose, sleeves rolled. Colleen from HR sat at the end of the glass conference table, lips pursed, a folder in front of her. Next to her was Jason from legal, who didn't even bother hiding his discomfort. "Julian," Colleen said, gesturing to the seat across from her. "Thanks for coming on short notice." I sat down, unbothered. "What's this about?" She cleared her throat. "We received a report, anonymously. It contained a screenshot of a message you sent. We were asked to assess whether it constitutes a workplace threat, given your seniority and the nature of your position." She slid the printed screenshot toward me. It was the text I sent Bianca in response to that Champagne Villa photo. Just one sentence. "Next time you toast with him, remember who paid for the glasses." I didn't flinch. Jason shifted in his seat. "Julian, you understand how that could be interpreted." "As what?" I cut in. "A reminder of fact? It's not a threat. It's ego management." Colleen hesitated. "Look, off the record, I agree with you. But on the record, we have to document this and issue a formal warning. It's protocol." I nodded slowly. "Of course. Cover your bases." I would. We wrapped up in 15 minutes. No suspension. No further action. Just a folder with my name on it now sitting in HR's cabinet, courtesy of Bianca. The moment I got home, I opened a new folder of my own. A physical binder this time. Tabs labeled communication, legal, financial, digital, behavior. I printed copies of everything: texts, emails, photos, receipts, logs. I took screenshots of her message metadata, stored backups on multiple drives. I wasn't angry. I was methodical. Because Bianca wasn't just flailing anymore. She was escalating, which meant she was scared. Good. I started journaling, something I hadn't done since college. Not out of sentiment, but for records. Dates. Recollections. Any verbal exchanges, I wrote them down. Every time she reached out, I logged it. Every word, every emoji, every passive-aggressive dig. She wanted war? Fine. But I'd fight it like I build everything else. Blueprint. Reinforced. Impossible to tear down. Let her keep playing chess. I was already on the next board. Claire showed up at my door on a rainy Thursday afternoon. No warning, just a knock, soft, hesitant. I opened it to see her standing there, hood pulled low, mascara smudged like she'd driven through a storm, both outside and in. I hadn't seen her in weeks. Not since the day Bianca left. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. I stepped aside. She entered slowly, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to be there anymore. I offered her tea. She asked for water. She didn't sit, just stood in the center of the room, arms folded, eyes darting around at the space that once held her sister's life. "She told me not to come," Claire said finally. I raised an eyebrow. "But you came anyway." She gave a dry laugh. "Yeah, guess that says something." She looked down, twisting a ring on her finger. "I thought I should be honest with you. Things aren't going well. With them." I didn't answer. "Caleb, he's not what she thought. Jealous, controlling, moody when he drinks. She found out he's been checking her phone, tracking her location. I let that sit in the air. She called me crying last night." Claire went on. "Said she felt trapped. Said maybe she made a mistake. Then she asked me the real question. What was that? If you would ever take her back." I turned away, walked to the window. The rain traced slow streaks down the glass. Outside, the street was empty. "She burned the bridge," I said flatly. I poured concrete over the ashes. Claire didn't respond right away. Then, softly, "I figured you'd say that." I turned back toward her. "Let me guess. She doesn't understand why I'm being so cold now. Why I won't even speak to her. Why I don't care about her regrets. She says she misses the way you made her feel, Claire admitted. Safe. Important. I smiled without warmth. Interesting. She didn't seem to miss it when she was barefoot in a villa flipping off the camera. Claire winced. I'm not defending her. I just wanted you to hear it from someone who isn't lying to you. We stood there in silence for a moment. Then she added, You've changed. I nodded. I had to. Claire gave a small, understanding nod. If you ever want to talk about anything, just call. She left without another word. I didn't watch her go, because there was nothing left to say. It was a Sunday evening when the doorbell rang. I was cooking, something I hadn't done much when Bianca lived here. She hated the smell of garlic. Said it clung to the furniture. I'd missed it. The sizzle, the aroma, the freedom of small things. I wiped my hands on a towel and opened the security app on my phone. The live feed showed her. Bianca. No makeup. No designer bag. Hair pulled into a messy bun, cheeks flushed, eyes puffy like she'd been crying for hours. She wasn't performing anymore. This wasn't the version of her built for Instagram. She looked human, smaller than I remembered. She rang the bell again, then stepped back and looked up at the camera. Julian, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Please, just talk to me. I didn't move. I know I messed everything up, she continued, her breath catching. I know I said terrible things. I know what I did with Caleb it was stupid. It wasn't real. It never was. You are the only real thing I ever had. She was trembling now. I miss you. I miss us. I don't want the house. I don't want the money. I want to come home. I tapped the microphone icon on the app. There is no home here for you. Her head snapped up. She hadn't realized I was listening. I'm sorry, she whispered. You said that already, I said calmly. Before you kissed another man. Before you sent me photos like it was a joke. Before you tried to make me the villain. Her lip quivered. I was confused. No, I said, still through the intercom. You were arrogant. You thought I'd always be waiting. That I'd beg. Tears ran down her cheeks. I'm not angry anymore, I said. I'm just done. She sank to the steps, shoulders shaking. For a moment, I saw the woman I married. Not the version she tried to be for everyone else. Just her. Broken, raw, maybe even a little honest. But I didn't go to her. I didn't open the door. I stood behind the screen, watching her cry in the rain. And I felt nothing. No sympathy. No guilt. Just a quiet, absolute peace. After a few minutes, she stood, wiped her face, and walked back to her car. I watched her drive away for the last time. No tears. No second thoughts. The house felt lighter somehow. Clean. Quiet. Whole. I went back to the kitchen, turned down the heat, and stirred the sauce. Dinner was ready. The call came in the middle of a workout. I was at the gym, sweat dripping from my forehead, focused on a heavy deadlift I hadn't touched since before the marriage started fraying. My phone buzzed against the floor beside my water bottle. I ignored it until I saw the name on the screen. Caleb. I let the barbell drop with a loud clang, startling a guy a few feet away. Picked up the phone, curious. Hello. Silence for a second. Then, his voice flat, tight. It's Caleb. I didn't say anything. She cheated on me, he blurted. With a yoga instructor. Travis. I let the silence stretch. She said it wasn't serious, that she was just confused, he continued, the words tumbling out. But I saw the messages. Pictures. She's been seeing him for weeks. My grip tightened on the phone, not from anger, but from the effort of holding in a laugh. Why are you telling me this? I asked. He hesitated. I don't know. Maybe. I guess I thought you'd understand. Understand what? I said, grabbing my towel. What it feels like. To give someone everything, only for them to turn around and, stop. I cut him off. Don't pretend we're the same. He went quiet. You knew she was married when you started seeing her, I said. You weren't tricked. You just thought you were the exception. She told me you were cold, he muttered. And you believed her, I said, smiling. That's your real mistake. I hung up without another word. I stared at the mirrored wall in front of me, watching my reflection breathe. My face was leaner, sharper. The weight I'd carried for so long, mentally and physically, was gone. Bianca hadn't just betrayed me. She'd betrayed him, too. And she'd do it again. It had never been about love. It was about ego, control, attention. And now, finally, I was free from the need to make sense of it. I chalked my hands and approached the barbell again. This time, I lifted it clean. No shaking, no hesitation. Each rep felt like closure. Not because Caleb had called, But because his voice was the final nail in a coffin, I stopped mourning months ago. 3 weeks after Caleb's call, I sold the house. I didn't leave a forwarding address. The real estate agent had instructions to send final paperwork to a P.O. box, and the only people who knew where I was going were Claire and my lawyer. Not even my colleagues knew, just that I was taking a sabbatical. The new place was a few towns over. Smaller, simpler. Clean lines, no memories, no shadows of arguments still clinging to the walls. It had wide windows and a tiny garden out back that got just enough sunlight to keep things alive. I got rid of most of my things, kept only what served a purpose or felt like mine again. The espresso machine made the cut. So did my drafting desk, some books, and an old turntable that I'd forgotten I loved. The first night there, I sat cross-legged on the hardwood floor, drinking whiskey from a coffee mug and listening to a Miles Davis record. No TV. No phone buzzing. Just quiet and horns. I didn't miss Bianca. I didn't even hate her. I just didn't care anymore. That was the strangest part. There were no fantasies about her crawling back. No daydreams about revenge. No lists of things I should have said. The story was over. Whatever I was before her, before the betrayal, that version of me was gone. But the man I was now? He wasn't a victim. He was something sharper. I cleared my contacts. Deleted every trace of her from my phone and laptop. Erased shared calendars, reminders, old anniversary photos buried deep in cloud backups. I even changed my emergency contact. She'd been listed for years. Now, it was Claire. Claire, who checked in once a week with no agenda. Who never asked me to forgive, only reminded me that surviving wasn't the same as healing, and that both were okay. I didn't go looking for love. I didn't sign up for dating apps or force a new chapter. I just let myself be. Went for walks. Cooked real meals. Took long showers. Woke up early not because I had to, but because I could. One morning, I caught a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror. Damp hair. Clear eyes. Shirtless. Leaner than I'd been in years. I stood there, staring not in judgment, not in vanity. Just recognition. For the first time in a long time, I saw someone I respected. Not a husband. Not a fixer. Not a stepping stone in someone else's story. Just Julian. And this time, he wasn't trying to be anyone else.